boring. Maybe I was really interested in the components of the thread and about polymer, but many doctors doesn't. I think isn't interested in details about the thread. So, okay. First of all, I'm Dr. Jung at Leading Plastic Surgery in Korea. I'm really glad to meet you today, and it's really an honor for me to have this time to share with my experiences and my knowledge to you, with you. Until now, maybe I have experiences over 2,000 cases about thread lifting for only 2 years, and I have done the invasive facelift, conventional facelift also. So both them, I have so many information and so many things, so many learned from them. And I want to show my experiences, and I try to press my experiences and information in this time, but 1 hour. I don't think it's a presentation, a lecture. So if I were you, you might be a little bored. So I tried to make this time not to be too educational. So I hope you just sit at ease and listening like a story, or just watching a movie, right? And okay, first of all, yeah, I have a question to you. Do you think lifting means anti-aging? Many doctors think like that, and even doctors and patients, most patients think like that, but I don't think so. I think we should change our thought of it. This is why I chose this title for youth. We want to get youth, means anti-aging, back to our patients. We want to give anti-aging effect to our patients, not just lifting effect. The youth is the forest. Lifting is one of the trees. I'll tell you in advance, this is today's my conclusion. I hope you keep this in your mind whenever you meet patients in your clinic. It's really helpful to get our ultimate goal. The storyline is like this. First, just look over facial anatomy. Okay, passing through why we should know how important contouring is in thread lifting. Then we'll get time to show my technique based on the past content. Lastly, I'll tell you whether there is any limitation on thread lifting. Okay, first, facial anatomy. There are tens of thousands of conferences, books, papers, and videos about anatomy, but in my case, I felt difficult to apply the content on real patients, so I wanted to figure it out. What methods of understanding facial anatomy can help you apply it to your real patient clinical practice? We already know that face, even our body, is like pastry. It means the structure is composed of multi-layer. Changes with aging is made by changes of close relationship among them. However, we can see the aging changes only on skin with our eyes. We call it surface anatomy. We should read real hidden changes under the skin through the skin. Before knowing surface anatomy analysis in details, let's take a look at deeper structures quickly. The compartments are divided into two by depth, superficial and deep depth compartment. And each compartment is also divided into multi-compartments. This illustration is very famous to Korean plastic surgeon. This illustration shows the relationship between superficial and deep depth compartment. You can see which superficial compartments lie on which deep compartments. A pair of superficial and deep compartment play a role like one team to make volume in their space. Each space is separated by some membrane three-dimensionally. The membrane is retaining ligament. Retaining ligament is also divided into two, true and false ligament. True ligament means are attached to dermis and bone directly. On the other hand, false retaining ligaments are attached to dermis and somewhere, such as smooth muscle fascia, except bone. In mid and lower face, true ligaments is only two, mandibular ligament and zygomatic ligament. Clinically, we should know that true ligament is most firm and strongest than false ligaments, and it means that area around true ligament is least movable. As I already mentioned, all of the retaining ligaments divide face into multi-sections. So, for natural anti-aging, we should make the boundary not to be noticeable. If we do some procedures without any consideration of retaining ligaments and separated sections, we would meet an expected case. Like this. Can you see this mid-cheek groove after procedure? It's called Indian wrinkle in Korea. She got a minimal invasive lifting from me. The mid-cheek groove becomes way too remarkable after lifting procedure. Lifting effect is really good, I think. Then, can we think? Can you feel this? She was satisfied about the effect? May not. Then, is there any solution? I'll tell you later about that in detail. Anyway, we should be able to apply already known anatomy to real patients. Okay, the most medial white line under the eye. And this line is mid-cheek groove by medial zygomatic cutaneous ligament. Most medial side. And big whitish circle is zygomatic ligament area. The next is the circle, the right picture, the uppermost line is lateral zygomatic cutaneous ligament. It lies along zygomatic arch, and you always meet and feel this ligament when you insert the thread. After that, this line is mesenteric ligament area along anterior border of masseteric muscle. If you ask a patient to bite mouth tightly, you can feel this line. And very short line under the mouth corner is mandibular ligament. Most tight and hard ligament it is. In addition, bone at this point is resorptive with aging, and it makes that lateral cheek fat seems to be more descending than it does. The last is mandibular septum along mandible border, the lowest point. This structure is quite. I think this structure is relatively less mentioned than others, but I think this structure is quite important and useful to predict before procedure how good candidate the patient is for thread lifting. Look at this patient. Let's predict how good or bad result we make with thread lifting. She has quite good fat volume, but her mandibular septum seems to be weak and more weaker with aging. It causes the tissue to droop beyond the mandibular boundaries. There is definitely different from this patient. She has very strong mandibular septum, so facial tissue is hard to descend beyond the mandibular border. Next is facial expression muscle. I think just knowing the name of muscles and its insertion and attachment point is less meaningful. That's just knowledge. We should know. Yes, we should know them all, of course, but we have to know repeated facial expression provokes what? In mid and lower face, there are many muscles, but among them, remember just a few things in particular. Zygomatic major muscle, zygomaticus minor, and depressor angularis. I'll tell you in detail why we should know them in later session. Before that, just discuss the importance of facial expression. Someone might say that we can't lift muscle itself by thread, so we need to know only skin and fat compartment. And many doctors still have focused on that skin and fat compartment. However, we are not wax figures. He is the most famous entertainer in Korea. You might know him on the Running Man broadcast program. Right side, a wax figure copying him. They compare too. Even he copies his figure, but the wrinkle looks different. I think we should know that wrinkle is caused by the relationship changing between each anatomy structure depending on the facial expression. Moreover, doctors are not just medical technicians. Our duty is to find the proper way for anti-aging effects and educate our patients why that way will be working or not working on you. For example, when I met a patient who has always sadly angry face, I would say it's difficult to get rid of your marionette line. That's because of your habit. Before meeting our patients, since the next slide, let's get to know the concept of aging exactly. Aging means changing of relationship between 5 structures: bone, muscle, fat compartment, retaining ligament, skin. Bone resorption causes changes of muscle position and make a gap in depth somewhere, like a step. And repetitive muscle expression leads dynamic wrinkles of the skin. And with aging, when the contraction of the muscle becomes fixed, it makes dynamic wrinkles, it turns into static wrinkles. And also it provokes somewhere above the static wrinkle to be bulgings, such as nasolabial fold. It looks more bulging. The last thing is hollowness, especially smaller area or mid-cheek groove. Yes, they become outstanding, remarkable by maxillary resorption, maintained zygomatic arch, and deflation of a fat compartment. If you understand this, let's go to meet a patient, real patient. Yes, she came to my clinic, yes, just last week, and she said, all things drooped. I look older than before, maybe suddenly. She said to me, with scrolling their cellular phone to search a photo when she was younger. She wanted to show the picture to me. Yes, that is her expectation. I'm waiting her with sigh. The photo is perhaps mostly filtered with some app. After giving a glance, I ask her again, what is your real problem? What are your unsatisfied points? Maybe she say, nasolabial fold. Maybe I think most of the patients know this word. And then, yes, I don't like the long wrinkle from mouth corner to mandible border. And sharp and clear mandible line is gone. And a little dark line on the anterior cheek also appears. I think in my mind, here is an old woman who should be taught by me. Can we improve only nasolabial fold without any change on the anterior cheek? Yes, I think if it is possible, I think it may be possible, but does it look beautiful or useful? Much amount of filler injection on nasolabial fold can make itself disappear. But is it correct way to get youth? I don't think so. Thus, I listen their words in one ear and out the other. After their monologue, I explain like this. There are 3 units to restore together. All components of each subunit should be restored together. Because our goal is not to eliminate the line or fold. Our goal is to look naturally youthful. Now let's take a closer look at each subunit. First subunit is composed of nasolabial fold, anterior cheek, and mid-cheek groove. Nasolabial fold is the most common problem that patients want to get rid of. There is no one who doesn't know what is nasolabial fold, but there are quite a few people who don't know what makes the fold deeper. I have 2 daughters, very young, 7 and 5, babies old. I can see nasolabial forward doing them in some situation, smiling or crying. Then can we say they have nasolabial forward? No. Nasolabial forward is related to these four muscles, expression muscles. And as you can see, these muscles partially insert just under the dermis of nasolabial forward directly. Let's get to know about the four muscles. First is levator labius superior alacnazi. This muscle lies under the most medial side of nasolabial forward. When we use this muscle voluntarily, it lifts up medial part of the molar fat pad. Like this picture, it looks like pinching the medial leg of molar fat pad. It makes like this surface feature. Second is levator labial superior. It has a similar effect on the nasolabial forward. These two muscles are related to the medial part of nasolabial forward. The tissue sagging direction depends on the muscle movement direction under the tissue. It means tissue on these two muscles sag down vertical vector, and opposite vector is needed to restore it. Adjust lateral to nose. Adjust lateral to nose. Do you think it is possible? It's possible? I don't think so. And in addition, deep medial cheek fat deflation also aggravated loosening and descending over it by gravity. Maybe someone caught the real hidden meaning. It's difficult or even impossible to restore by just only lifting at this area. Third is zygomaticus minor muscle. It is related to a little lateral part of nasolabial forward than previous two muscles. It makes nasolabial forward longer by deepening just above the mouth corner. Molar fat pad on this muscle moves more laterally than vertically when the muscle contracts, expressed. It makes the zygoma look wider and more noticeable. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry, what? Okay. Okay, let's see the right picture. Does it look the most natural and aesthetic with a positive vibe? This is why the proper vector for lifting is the direction of zygomatic major muscle. Molar fat pad on zygomatic major muscle move up vertically when the muscle contracts. It seems that the molar fat pad rotates to the lateral orbital limb with the innermost pivot point. This movement makes ideal molar highlights without widening zygoma distance. Then, what is the key point to know clinically regarding to them? Okay. First is some nasolabial forward by contracted or congenitally short LLS, AN, and LLS can't be changed by lifting. There are some cases that they have had nasolabial forward since birth, especially the level of nasolabial. In my case, I explained before procedure to like that case, it may not be changed by only lifting. Filler is necessary to solve it, but partially. Second is that Avoid to insert thread too deep and too close to between nose and upper lip area. This picture is when I elevated smooth in a conventional facelift. As you can see, zygomaticus minor muscle is more superficial than we imagine. So if we insert thread, as I already mentioned, too deep and too close between nose and upper lip, zygomatic minor muscle can be hooked by thread's coat. It provokes insertion side of the muscle move up and deep inside. It can make the area below nasolabial fold flattened. It makes anterior cheek seems to be more bulging and remarkable relatively, and nasolabial fold look deeper. It doesn't mean that the fold really aggravated, but it looks aggravated. That's because the way that we recognize the degree of deep folds, which just depends on the information from our eyes. I already said surface anatomy. The information is affected by the shadow from this gap. In order both patients and doctors to feel the improvement of the fold, we should reduce the gap. Raising the lower aspect and lowering higher aspect. Here are the solution. Lower the higher aspect with abduction or lifting to flatten the folded tissue. And raise the lower aspect with feeling something, both deeply and superficially. Deep injection is to restore volume, and superficial injection is to detach muscle from dermis. One of the composition of first subunit is mixture groove. It's exactly different from tear trough ligament. I think this line is most difficult to notice and predict before procedure. That's because there are many cases that the groove hides behind too loosened skin. It's like something behind a curtain. Occasionally, we can't know its existence by the loose curtain. The curtain camouflages it. As I already showed to you, you can meet like this case. The blur mid-cheek groove by loosened skin. Okay. The medial zygomatic ligaments can be tight by lifting. So, to avoid this situation, to scan and catch this problem before procedure is very important to avoid post-operative arguments. Last component of this unit is anterior cheek. Anterior cheek becomes flattened by fat deflation, especially deep medial cheek fat. We can change or improve this area by lifting. Thus, some additional procedure is needed to improve first subunit together when we proceed thread lifting. She got a conventional facelift, but as facial contouring and facial shape is improved, but the anterior cheek part never changed. This combination procedure connects to how we eventually can get back youthful face. Kids and teenagers have convex mid-face with tight skin and fully filling. With aging, we lose both of them. Mid-face gets to be concave and the hidden line by ligament is revealed. Lifting is effective in reducing the space to fill, but not enough. So I recommend combination lifting and fill. These compartments, infractor fat, superficial medial cheek fat, and medial soothe, deep medial cheek fat, are targets to fill. This is my sequence to inject filler in the first subunit. The needed amount of filler is not today's point. To improve first subunit, we should manage 3 components all together. It's important. For that, I do lifting and filming simultaneously, and I recommend it. Then second subunit, here's relatively simple than first subunit. Do you think sagging deepens the marionette line? Many doctors and many patients think like that, so lifting makes them better than before. I agree, but in particular. Then I say particular, then what proportion will be affected by tissue sagging? How proportion? I'm not sure, but I think it is less than we expect. There are many cases to be improved by only filler injection on marionette line than nasal fold, I think. Of course, lifting is one of the necessary procedures to improve, but we need to pay more attention to muscle in this area than nasal fold. Just to remember 3 muscles, reservius and depressed angularis. Modulus is not muscle, but anyway. Marionette line is mainly related to depressed angularis. I guess marionette line is usually along the medial border of the DAO. Older patients tend to be in a basic state of applying strength to the DAO. They have like saddly face. In addition, Korean or many Asians has lower modulus line and resort line than Caucasian, and resortius loosens with aging. Loosened resortius and lower modulus are related to upper 1/3 of marionette line. So, lifting targets to improve loosened resortius. Modulus position change is almost impossible, or it is temporarily, even if possible. DAO is also can't be changed, so just detach muscle insertion from dermis and feel something between dermis and muscle will play a role like a cushion to cover up so that it doesn't show the movement of muscle on the skin. Buttocks is also useful. I use combined, or buttocks, lifting, filler, everything to improve. This is a very severe case. I did all, as I already mentioned, fat lifting, filler, buttocks, but you can see, it's improved. But, it's improved, but limited because of her habit using, habit of using DAO. To summarize about second subunit, sagging jaw fat around resortius muscle should be lifted. Sometimes I also do liposuction and then inject filler just under the dermis for detaching the muscle from the dermis. There is no firm and stable structure to raise the lower aspect compared to nasolabial fold, so I just inject filler superficially, just under the dermis. Last subunit is more simple, but most important to control. The component of this unit is only one. Lateral cheek fat. Lateral cheek, that is lateral cheek. Yeah. Can you just describe what is different between the pre and post-operative pictures? Can you see? Just there is difference. His nasolabial forward or myriad line is also improved, yes, but the first thing that catches my eye is the change of the facial shape. Her face looks square and long before procedure. After procedure, her facial shape is close to circle, like kids or teenager. Let's take a look at another case. How about facial outline of this patient? Before surgery, facial outline is wavy and bumpy. The line between zygomatic arch and mandibular angle is a little straight, not convex. After surgery, the line becomes convex and her facial shape becomes close to circle. Right picture is post-operative, and we can also think this picture is when she was young. With aging, lateral cheek fat, especially in deep layer, deflates and it leads the shell on the fat compartment loosens and descends by gravity. This makes patients lose mid-face fullness and causes smaller hollowness and relatively noticeable zygomatic arch. I think this subunit is most relevant to the contouring effect. Often we can also meet like this patient. He has a severe smaller hollowness by hard zygomatic cutaneous ligament, narrow zygomatic cutaneous ligament. It's difficult to get contouring effect by lifting. In this case, we should find another way to fill in smaller area, but it's not fully work. I think there are cases who has limits, of course. For like this case, I will just give you a tip. Many doctors just consider HA filler only to fill somewhere, but the filler can spread to another side or move to. Thus, I often feel like this. Combine mesh thread and filler. Connect the thread cannula to filler syringe. I already punctured targeting site. Just insert. After that, fill. I think I inject filler. No. I think mesh works as scaffold to keep filler in limited area. You can also think this to use at an anterior cheek and nasolabial forward also. Just a tip, try it. Very useful, very effective. To the next, I'll talk about my thread lifting technique and my own principles for contouring effect. Okay, this sentence is in the same vein as I mentioned at the beginning. If you focus on too much in detail, just line, just fold, you can miss something big. Patients want to look younger, not just to disappear some wrinkles, but they express or say, I want to eliminate this forward, everything. Yes, we can do it. We can make it using much amount of filler. But are they satisfied? Or have they been satisfied? If we do like that, they would come back to our clinic and ask us to melt them and fill again, melt them, fill again, as it's gonna be in a vicious cycle. We are some kind of translator. We should know to read out a hidden meaning from their words. And then we should persuade them to follow us. I explain my patients, aging has a sequence, like crossing stepping stone bridge. In the same way, for natural anti-aging effect, we should head back the way we came. To restore sagging and skin laxity with lifting is first. Then to restore bone resorption and fat deflation with filling is next. Lifting is especially more effective to reposition sagged fat tissue than to tighten and loosen the skin, I think. It is similar to pick up and lifting fruits with a toothpick. Pick with coke thread and pull up this sagged fat compartment. For this process, lifting can improve facial contour. And I'd like to mention that facial contour is three-dimensional change, not two-dimensional. This should be our ultimate goal. Of course, we can recover a patient's fullness by filling only, but it will make a big face like me. Considering aging sequential process, it is reasonable to fill as much as it is insufficient after lifting is done first. Even without any filling process, we can get contouring effect through only lifting, of course. But more invasive surgery is sometimes needed to severe cases like this. Very heavy, too heavy to have to lift by thread sometimes. Now let's apply the theory clinically. Many doctors now might think, so what do you mean, what do we do? How? So remember this. Accurate targeting. When you insert a thread here from there, you should have accurate reason. You should have an accurate goal that you want to get from the procedure. Even only one trick. And I recommend to use multiple entry points and insert thread overlapped each other. Accurate targeting is related to inserting depth. We should insert between subcutaneous and superficial fat. To hook subcutaneous fat and superficial fat, there is a quick loosen space. We should target superficial fat compartment than deep fat compartment. This is the reason why we should insert not too deep and to target superficial fat compartment than deep fat compartment. I think sagged tissue is similar to seesaw with pivot point on bone. The plate is loosened retaining ligament. We can cut and release retaining ligament using doing thread lift. For more change of distance with same force, we should reinforce at the farthest from the pivot point. In a nutshell, this patient came into my clinic and she looks sad and complains everything on her face. But maybe she obsessed on nasolabial fold and marionette line. While her monologue, we should scan analyze her face first. After done scanning, I try to distract her obsessed attention. I recommend to try to distract their obsessed attention to others, especially including control. Then simplify her problems from 3 or 4. To improve them, I set each target. Now just the way inserting thread is left. There are already many techniques you learned or listened to. All techniques are good, but not perfect. There is no only one right thing. That's because everybody has different sense of the hands. And when I say insert deeply, the depth I think might not be the same to the depth you think. I want you to filter out what I'm saying about technique, just to you, yourself. Just its recommendation based on my experiences. Tissue has sagged to inferior and medial side, so we need the tissue to pull vertically and posteriorly. I prefer multiple entry points. That's because I think migration of inserted threads on fixation point is the main reason to lose lifting effect. So I use 3 points for vertical vector, they're above lateral counter level, and 1 for lateral vector. To do real thread lifting, first of all, mark zygomatic ligament area to avoid there. Then insert two threads each point. To lift mollified pad, to target mollified pad, insert at temporal hairline just above comfort level, but not insert too close to nasolabial fold. It means that you don't need to insert the cannula fully. I usually insert the thread until mid-pupil level, and it does not have to be perpendicular to the nasolabial fold. Sometimes I insert reverse direction to avoid the dipole complication and to target the compartment accurately. It's easier than forward direction. I use double forte, predicted by Domba, always. Next, I target to lift the middle cheek fat compartment to improve marionette line. I use an entry point around between canthus and eyebrow level. Insert one thread to mouth corner and another one to the lower end of marionette line. 2 tracks are usually below zygomatic ligament area. At the level of eyebrow or a little higher, insert one thread vertically and another one to mandibular angle. A lateral vector pulls the tissue with a supermedial vector. It may feel a little unfamiliar, but this works well to gather tissue on submolar area. The area is mid-face. In severe marionette line cases, I insert 2 threads from just posterior ear lobe to marionette line. At this point, you should take care not to penetrate parotid gland. For that, before insert thread, make a proper tunnel with 18 gauge needle. If we put it all together, we can see multiple threads overlap each other. I think they disperse the tension on fixation point each other, and it prevents migration from fixation area. In addition, the most overlapped area is around the zygomatic arch. I think that this crisscross technique can make new hard retaining ligaments on zygomatic arch to replace loosened ligaments. It leads long-lasting effect, I think. Okay. Today's my last part is indication for thread lifting in Asian face. As you already know, skin laxity is one of the most important criteria for thread lifting. Thread lifting is not effective to patients who have moderate to severe skin laxity. This paper says, and as we already know, Asian has thicker and firmer skin than Caucasian does. So we can think that thread lifting is more proper to Asian than Caucasian. We can see moderate to severe skin laxity on the right side women with moderate degree of fat deflation. Right side patient has mild skin laxity and minimal fat deflation. I proceeded thread lifting to both. Can you predict who will get better thread lifting effect? It may be easy, I guess. Almost the doctors said about the thread lifting indication like this. All changes should be mild, especially patients who want thread lifting should have enough fat volume to show a dramatic change. Based on this concept, we can predict that right side patient will be good by thread lifting. But how about the results? Is it matching to your prediction? I think both patients are good. Left patient obtain more changes, of course, but can we say right patient get bad result based on the previous indication? So I want to say, yes, there's better case for thread lifting also. I totally agree with it. But I also think there's no limitation than what we think. Just give you a shot to everyone who gets order. You can make it and can find new way to improve them. Real lastly, I'll just briefly tell you about the patient that should be avoided relatively. This patient got thread lifting procedures multiple times. As you can see, her facial line is not bad. There's just a remnant skin, especially around the mouth corner. This patient is not good indication for thread lifting. This patient should be got an invasive surgery for me to remove the remnant skin. It's similar to wrap something tightly. Post-operative result. Is her facial outline changed much? No, not much. Most of the result come from tightening the skin by resection. So checking history is very important to avoid like this patient. Okay, today's presentation is finished, and I'm sorry I don't speak English well, and it's very hard to prepare it this time because I have quite a long time, and I'm very considerate how to deliver my thought and my experiences to you, because I don't know how many experiences you have, and maybe there are someone doesn't have any experiences about lifting, but this concept, aging concept, is trying to very simplify. And if you keep in your mind, in your head, when you meet your patients and before doing some procedure, it is very helpful, and I hope. Thank you.